The International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin because of his alleged involvement in abductions of children from Ukraine. It will now be up to the international community to actually carry out the warrant, as the court has no police force of its own to actually enforce it. ABC News foreign correspondent Marcus Moore joining us now with more on this. So, Marcus, what more do we know about the warrant and also these abduction allegations?
Well, hey, Kira, good to be with you. These warrants coming out just today, and according to the International Criminal Court, they are related to allegations that President Vladimir Putin and another top official, the Commissioner of Children's Rights for the office of the President of the Russian Federation, essentially abducted children from Ukraine. The ICC releasing a statement saying that Mr. Putin was either individually criminally responsible for either committing these acts directly or for his failure to exercise control properly over the civilian or military subordinates who committed the acts themselves, or he allowed their commission. Again, that's according to the ICC. It's a part of the allegations that have been made. And this, of course, is something that we have been following for months now. Our Britt Clinnett, as you know, Kira, has done extensive reporting on the alleged abductions of numerous children. In fact, she featured a family, a father who was detained for 30 days, and then it took him an entire 90 days to get his children. After he was released, he learned that his children had been moved to Russia. And it set off an effort on his part to try to be reunited with them. According to officials in Ukraine, 11,000 children have been deported illegally, and only 100 of them, according to Ukrainian officials, have made it back to Ukraine. And so this is a major issue, and certainly one among many that critics have pointed towards in their allegations of war crimes, of not only abductions but also genocide as well. So, Kira, it goes without saying that this is very significant, and we will watch to see what happens in the days ahead.
So is Putin reacting to all of this, any of this?
We haven't heard directly from Putin, but we have heard from his people, including WW3 Peskov, who's his press secretary. He has said today that, quote, "We consider the very posing of the question outrageous and unacceptable." He also, another spokesperson, Maria Zakharova, says that the arrest warrants have absolutely no meaning, and on the part of the Russian Federation, and saying that, and also including from a legal point of view, that the arrest warrants are legally null and void. So that is the immediate reaction that we have heard from the Russians. But on the flip side, there are people who are celebrating this as a step. And certainly those who have alleged that war crimes have taken place, they are encouraged by this late word from the ICC, which, by the way, the president of the ICC has visited Ukraine 4 times in their efforts to establish whether war crimes have been committed, and they are now saying that there is evidence to support the allegations.
So hearing now from both sides, and you saying that the foreign ministry says that this just has no meaning from a legal perspective. So what's the likelihood of this actually going forward and heading to trial?
Well, that's the big question, right, Kira? The immediate answer to that question is the likelihood that Vladimir Putin will be arrested and taken to a courtroom in The Hague. Very small. It's not likely at all. But as many will say, it is not impossible. But even the president of the ICC says, and as you have just mentioned, they do not have a police force. They cannot enforce the warrants themselves. And he's quoted as saying that it will be up to the international community to cooperate and see this through. But everyone seems to acknowledge that whatever court proceedings will follow these arrest warrants, if they are executed successfully, that any trial is a long way off. But as we have seen throughout history, these trials have indeed occurred. But the question immediately of whether or not Vladimir Putin will end up in that courtroom at this point seems quite unlikely.
All right, Marcus Moore. We will.
Here it goes. I talked to my...
To the war in Ukraine and Russian President Vladimir Putin making an unannounced visit to Crimea for the 9th anniversary of the area's annexation. It comes just one day after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant accusing him of war crimes. ABC's James Longman from Ukraine tonight.
A defiant Vladimir Putin today visiting occupied Crimea to mark 9 years since Russia annexed the peninsula. But this was a visit by a wanted man. Friday's arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court hanging over him. The court says Putin's alleged deportation of thousands of Ukrainian children to Russia amounts to a war crime. President Biden supporting the evidence.
Well, I think it's justified, but the question is, it's not recognized internationally by us either. But I think it makes a very strong point. He's clearly committed war crimes.
Putin today saying nothing about those serious charges. He was seen here poking around a Crimean art school. But here in the east, in the cover of darkness, a Ukrainian special drone unit heads out towards the front lines. The team works fast, only using minimal light. They don't want to alert Russian reconnaissance. This is the Punisher, a fixed-wing drone assembled in minutes.
The crucial difference with this drone is it can fly so much further. It can fly deep behind enemy lines. And it can carry more ordnance. Take a look at this. This bomb, this is 2 pounds worth of explosives.
The Punisher can fly up to 40 miles. Drone missions like these are critical to support frontline troops. And as these videos from the Ukrainian military show, they aim to hit ammunition stores, artillery positions, even suspected leadership locations.
With the fighting where we were has quieted in recent weeks, intelligence reports suggest Russia is running low on ammunition and manpower. Now, it might be that Vladimir Putin asks President Xi of China to help with this military campaign when he visits Moscow on a state visit next week. But we'll have to see whether the Chinese leader wants to help a man with an arrest warrant hanging over him.
Hi, everyone.